Well, hello, ladies. Welcome to Short Sisters Podcast. I'm Kathy, and this is
Hey, ladies, I'm Ellen.
yes. We are so excited to be with you again. We've been having so much fun recording these podcasts.
Yeah.
We're still, figuring out some kinks and trying to decide how we're going to do the different episodes we have. I mean, you should see our
list.
Our list.
It just keeps growing and growing. Yes. But that's good though.
It is. It's very good.
We have a lot to talk about.
So we're we're learning that and trying to figure out how we're gonna say hello and how we're gonna sign off and all that. Yeah. So be patient with us as we figure all that out.
Yes, please.
So today's episode is mostly about our pregnancies, but there's going to be some questions that might have to do a little bit with the labor process and maybe like after we had baby, but not the baby's first years.
Yeah.
And so we have questions for one another, and we're just going to piggyback off each other and share and talk about how God worked in our lives during our pregnancies.
Yes. And gave us grace the first year of our children's lives.
Okay. So the very first question, Ellen, that I have for you is, how did you react to the news when you found out you were pregnant with each of your pregnancies?
Wow. Okay. So with Austin, mind you, we weren't exactly trying, but then I remember I was having issues, health issues, and my stomach was really hurting. And so we ended up going to the doctor. Now, we lived in Phoenix at the time with Austin. And so our family doctor was actually one of the people that went to our church.
That's cool.
So I made an appointment, and his last name was Dr. Hoshiwara. Say that 5 times.
That is a name.
Yes. But his first name was Steve, so we just call him Steve. So I made an appointment with Steve. And so he's asking me questions, and he goes, could there be a possibility that you might be pregnant? And I said, I don't think so, but maybe, I don't know. And of course, the questions are like, when is your last menstrual cycle? I did not keep up with that. I just didn't keep up with that. He goes, well, let me just do a pregnancy test, make sure everything's okay. He goes back and he has this big smile on his face. And he goes, well, guys, congratulations. And Chad and I are like, huh? And he saw the look on, I don't know what our face looked like, but his face kind of dropped a little bit. He goes, I take it by the look on your face that you're surprised. And we're like, yes. He goes, well, yeah, you're pregnant, definitely pregnant. So it was funny because, patient confidentiality. So he obviously couldn't say anything to anybody at church, and not even his wife or anything. And they were in our Sunday school class.
That's funny.
And so we were really excited when we found out that we were pregnant with Austin. And of course, I got the jittery, like, oh my gosh, I'm going to be a mother for the first time. How am I going to be as a mother? And, your doubts start creeping in. You get excited. And then you're like, you have all these crazy emotions. With Ashlyn, it was harder to get pregnant with her. And in fact, I had a little bit of a fertility problem with her. We ended up seeing the doctor, getting Chad checked out. And she basically was like, just keep trying. And this is when we lived in Fort Worth. We moved from Phoenix to Fort Worth. We wanted to move back to Texas, so we moved to Fort Worth. And then I took a pregnancy test with Ashlyn. I had been taking pregnancy tests. That pregnancy, just trying to get pregnant with her, that just kind of put a little bit of a strain on our marriage a little bit, just because we're just trying so hard. So for like the 3rd or 4th time I took this pregnancy test, and of course it comes up negative, and I was very upset, and I just threw the pregnancy test in the trash can. So the next morning I wake up, I just go by the trash can. It's still sitting on top in the trash can. I am not kidding you. I see this very faint, it was very faint line. And I'm like, wait a minute. Because, they always tell you to throw the test out after 15 minutes. It's not valid, whatever. It's a very faint pink line, a positive line. I'm like, wait a minute. It says I'm pregnant. And Chad's like, well, it's the next day. I don't, it's probably not valid. So I ended up going to my doctor and I found out I was pregnant with Ashlyn. And then about 10 weeks, I started spotting with her and I thought I was losing her. And the doctor just said, no, you're fine. Your hormones are fine. You just need to rest. And so with her, I guess we'll get into that later. I was on bed rest with her a lot. Andrew, I had just gotten over losing. I had a miscarriage and I took that miscarriage very hard. Like I got pregnant in October. And then I lost the baby at 11, 12 weeks. And so I took that very hard. And Chad was like, you know what? Let's not try. Let's just see what happens. And then May of the following year, of course, by that time, the symptoms of whether or not you're pregnant or not. So it was early in the morning. Chad was still in bed. He was sleeping. And I just went to the bathroom. I had bought a pregnancy test the night before and I took it. And it was a very, very positive test. And so I couldn't wait. I ended up getting back into bed. I'm like, hey. I'm like, look. And of course, he's like, what? I was like, I'm pregnant. And so that was the way that we found out that we were pregnant with each child. And so I had to go back and really think about that because my youngest is 19. So it's been a minute since I've been pregnant. Again, I'm aging myself. So I'm going to ask you the same question, Kathy. So how did you react to the news when you found out you were pregnant?
Well, with Joshua, we were not trying.
Mm-hmm.
I'm falling down on the job.
Okay. I got you covered.
We were not trying. In fact, this just goes to show that I didn't have very good sex ed courses in my high school days.
Yeah.
After we got married, we had this plan.
Of course, you always have that plan.
Well,
it never happens.
That particular year, the year that I found out I was pregnant with Joshua, birth control messed me up and made me crazy. It jacked my hormones up. My doctor and I tried so many different options and it just wasn't working.
Yeah.
And so we just decided that I wasn't going to use birth control anymore, but we kept being told by so many people that it takes several weeks, sometimes months for it to get out of your system, right?
Yeah.
So we're talking, I have not been taking birth control for 1 week. And to be fair, I had just finished my period.
Yeah.
And Jason was like, no. I was like, no. I'm fine. You're not really fertile at this time. It's somewhere further down, I think.
Yeah.
Well, I was wrong.
Yep.
But I didn't know it. In fact, again, we weren't trying. And so, it was Easter Sunday. We were at my parents' house for Easter, dinner.
Yeah.
And, I kept wanting the asparagus. I kept
you told me this. Yeah.
Was eating asparagus constantly.
And you didn't like asparagus,
right?
I
hated asparagus. I love it now.
Yeah.
Hated it before Joshua. And my mom kept looking at me across from the table like she knew. I didn't know.
Your mom was a nurse, right?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
She's like, is there something you're not telling me? I'm like, no.
I'm just hungry.
No, this, you just make really good asparagus. It's fantastic. Well, then the next morning, this is how bizarre my pregnancy was with Joshua, and we'll probably get into this. The next morning, and it had to be from Schnucks, which is a grocery store. I think there used to be Schnucks in Sugar Lane, but it closed down. It was a grocery store in the college town that we grew up in.
Yeah.
or that we went to college in. I wanted their Long John Bavarian cream-filled chocolate donut that morning. So I made Jason get
That's
up.
some serious donut there.
He's like, you need to go get this donut for me. I want it right now. He's like, okay. So the next day I wanted it again. And I'm like, I don't eat donuts because they just they make me sick.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I want it again. And I wanted it again. So it's like, this is weird. And so I just, in my mind, it's like, I'm going to take a pregnancy test just to see.
Yeah.
So when I found out I was pregnant with Joshua, I cried actually.
Yeah.
A lot. I called my older sister and she's like, what's wrong? I'm like, I'm pregnant. She's like, what? That's amazing. Because, we were married. It's like, I know, but I wasn't ready. Like,
when are you ever ready?
We were so
honestly.
young.
Yeah.
Jason's 19. Yeah. I'm 21. Or when did it? Yes. I'm 21, turning 22. I'm like, we're poor. I mean, poor.
Yeah.
And I was like, no, we can't do this. So I'm in mess. My sister calms me down and prays with me and also teases me because I took 6 pregnancy tests because I didn't.
I thought my daughter was bad.
Yeah, 6. I'm like, this can't be right.
My daughter took 5. She was in denial. She took 5.
My sister's like, I don't know how to tell you this, sis, but usually a positive is a positive. So I picked up Jason from work because we only had one car and told him, and he was thrilled. Yeah. I mean, jump up and down, super excited.
Yeah.
But I was nervous. Jason's always been, I've never known him to worry about anything. Like he just has an incredible faith and trust in the Lord. Yeah. Meanwhile, I struggle with worry and anxiety. So that's how we found out with Joshua. Evangeline, we found out we were actually in Dallas. We were at a Dallas Cowboys game. Go Cowboys. And I was like craving the stadium nacho cheese nachos, which I don't really like. I want these.
There's so much better food at the stadium.
I'm like, I want these. These are what I want. And I kept wanting this. Like, well, that's weird. And so that evening, because we were there for like a little getaway. Yeah. That evening, I took a test and found out I was pregnant with her.
Oh, wow.
Now, we were trying with her. So I wasn't scared, sad, upset or anything. We were definitely trying with her. And then Dorothy, we had been trying for several months. Yeah. And I kept getting negative. And I kept feeling like I'm too old now, which is silly because I know a lot of mamas who get pregnant past my age.
Past 40.
But I'm like, I'm not getting pregnant. And so I was really discouraged. Yeah. And for 5 months, I just prayed. I said, Lord, my desire is to have at least one more child. Yeah. And that if it be your will that I have a girl, because I really wanted to name one of my kids after my grandma. Yeah. But I'm trusting you. If this is your will, then if it's your will that Joshua and Evangeline are, then help me be at peace with that. And if it's not, help me to, trust you for the timing. And so that was like a 5-month period where I was really fighting, struggling, trusting him. Yeah. So when I did find out I was pregnant, I was like, so I called Melody. Yeah. I was like, I think I might be pregnant. And she's like, well, tell me. I was like, well, there's these 2 lines and one's super, super faint. And she's like, you're pregnant. It's like, hey. So, and she ended up being a girl. And I was so excited because I finally got to name her Dorothy. Yeah, because we were at UBBC. In fact, we went to dinner with you. Yeah. Right after I found out I was pregnant. And Chad's like, you're not having wine today. What's going on? I was like, anyway.
Oh, well.
So that's how we found out with all 3 of our pregnancies.
Aww.
So
sweet.
Okay, so how old were you with each pregnancy?
Okay, so the first one, Austin, I got married when I was 19. And so I found out I was pregnant with them when I was 20.
Okay.
And then in the middle of my 21st birthday, it's your 21st birthday. You want to
enjoy wine or whatever. Margarita
I couldn't. I was pregnant, so I ended up buying something for my husband because I was just like, and then it was funny because the waitress was like, she wouldn't even card me, and Child's like, can you please card her so she can feel special because she's 21 today because I was pregnant. But everybody, when we would go to like the mall and stuff, everybody would give him dirty looks.
Oh, because you looked like you were a child.
I guess I look like a child.
Guess. You're 4'10", and you probably weighed like hardly anything.
Yeah. Well, okay. I mean, like he literally, people would just give him the, man, you're a dirty old man, and he's like, because I literally,
my teeth are hitting. I'm gonna start calling Chad a dirty old man.
I mean, it was horrible. So I was young with Austin, with Ashlyn. So I was in my mid-20s, and I was a little bit more prepared with her. And then Andrew, I was like 27, 28. I had told my husband that I wanted to have all of our children before I turned 30. Because I remember when my mom was pregnant with my brother, she was 40. I just remember how tired she was when she was pregnant, and then just even trying to keep up with him because my brother was a really active child. And I was like, I don't want to have my children young.
You mean old?
Old. Did I say young?
Yes.
Well, I'm trying to feel young now. But anyways, I wanted to have them young, not when I was older, because I told him, whenever our children get married and have children, I want to be a young grandmother so I can enjoy my grandchildren. Hence, my daughter is pregnant, and I mean, I'm not 50 yet. So, I mean, that's nice. I'm going to get to enjoy my grandchild and be active with my grandchild.
Right.
So I was excited about that. But I had them all when I was before the age of 30.
All right.
Yeah. Yep. Yes, ma'am.
So for me, I was 24 when I had Joshua.
Okay.
In fact, I think I just turned, because my birthday's in November and he's in December. So I think I just turned 24 when I had Joshua. And then Evangeline, I was 26, almost 27, because she's a July birthday.
Okay.
And then with Dorothy, I was 36 when I had her. In fact, when I had my first appointment and I heard the words, you're high risk because you're a C-section mama and you are a geriatric pregnancy. I'm like,
geriatric? Really?
I'm a what?
At 36?
Yes.
That's something I would expect a doctor to say over 40.
They've lowered the age now. And I was like, what? You just called me old.
Really?
Here's the crazy thing. Like, I don't know if it's just because I was in a better place with Dorothy. Her pregnancy was my easiest, and I was the oldest. Like, I don't know.
Maybe because you were just accustomed your
so
body.
Part of me wonders if it's because with Joshua, I was working 20 hours a week and going to school full time.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Sorry, that's not true. I was student teaching with him, and when you student teach, I had to be there at 7 a.m. and couldn't leave till 5.
Yeah.
So that was, and then I also had to take finals in college.
Yeah.
So,
That makes you tired. With Austin, I was in my last semester of college. Yeah. When I graduated, I was 3.5 months, almost 4 months pregnant with him.
So I wonder if that, and then with Evangeline, when I was pregnant with her, I was nannying at that time, and I had a 2-year-old. And then my son, who was a baby, well, I mean, he was when I started nannying and was pregnant with Evangeline, I had he was 4, his sister was 2, and Joshua was 2.
Ooh.
So I'm chasing around 3 little ones while pregnant.
Yeah.
With Dorothy, it was on the tail end of COVID. And so Jason was still working from home mostly. Yeah. He was home every day of the week. and I had his help. I wasn't working. I was at home, and my kids are pretty much self-sufficient. And so, so I think some of why my pregnancy with Dorothy was easier is just because I was in a better place physically, emotionally, mentally, all the things.
Gotcha.
But I was 36 with her. I really would love to have one more, but I'm not sure that's what Jason wants. And I'm like, I'm going to be 38 this year. So who knows? Maybe next year I might be saying, I am 38, almost 39, about to have a baby. I
don't know. We'll pray.
Anyway, okay. I think we kind of talked about question 3, didn't we? We talked about how we found out we were pregnant with each baby.
Yes.
Okay, so did you find out the sex of each of your babies?
Yes, definitely found out. Oh, we're lacking on that today.
Like bad. Jason can fix it.
Yeah, I know.
Sorry, Jason.
So, yes, I was not one to not find out whether or not I was going to have a boy or a girl when I had my child, because I was that type of person that wanted to plan. I wanted to have a theme for the nursery. So with each child, we found out that what we were having. With Austin, it was pretty easy. I mean, he was spread eagle. I mean, fantastic. It was like, oh yeah, it's a boy. Okay, now again, I'm dating myself, Kathy. So back then, when they did ultrasounds, they had you bring a VHS tape so they could record the ultrasound.
What's that? I'm just kidding. I know what a VHS tape is.
So, like, you didn't get pictures printed out. You got a VHS tape. Yes. I had that with all 3 of my kids. I'm not kidding you. Man. I had all 3 with my kids. So with Austin, we were really excited. And I think I did bears and sports with him for a nursery theme. With Ashlyn, I was really praying that we would have a girl. I wanted to have a girl. And again, she was spread eagle. And she's like, yeah, you're definitely having a girl. It's a girl. So I was really excited about that. And then with Andrew, same thing. Spread eagle.
So your kids aren't shy.
Nope. My kids are not shy. Oh, yeah, it's a boy. Definitely a boy.
That's funny.
I mean, my daughter, when she found out, she's having a girl. So they said that she would not cooperate.
That was Evangeline.
Yeah. See, stubborn child. I'm laughing at my daughter now because I'm like, it's going to be stubborn. Yeah. But yeah, we found out I was not one to. Now they're into these gender reveals.
Oh yeah, that's new. That's even new since like when I was pregnant. It wasn't super popular when I was pregnant with Joshua and Evangeline. It started becoming.
But you did kind of do a gender reveal.
I did with Dorothy. Yes.
Yeah, but that was a simple gender reveal.
Some of the ones out there are like
they are crazy.
Some people have literally died from gender reveals.
I know. I'm like is it that serious? Really? Truly? And I've seen gender reveals gone wrong. So, I mean, anyways.
I mean, the ones where they die definitely went wrong.
Yeah, definitely.
Sorry.
Anyways, what about you?
So, Joshua was spread eagle, like clear as day. In fact, when Jason edited, so we got the printout sheet, my friend. I didn't get a VHS tape. When they printed it out, and we shared the picture of Joshua on social media, Jason had edited a electric guitar in the picture with Joshua. It was so funny. So everybody's like, you're having a boy.
That's so funny.
Here's the crazy thing. I knew with Joshua I was having a boy. There was no question in my mind.
I think I knew with each of my kids too.
And that's because in Jason's family, I know I'm pretty sure I shared this with you before. There had not at that point been a girl in his family in 55 years, I think.
Wow.
55 years.
That is a long time.
On his side. So I'm like, it's a boy. I'm not having a girl. And it was a boy. And then when I found out I was pregnant with Evangeline, she was pretty shy. In fact, that particular appointment, they're like, we're about 80% sure she's a girl. I'm like, well, what do I do with that? Like, you know,
you can't plan.
I don't want to be like, hey, we're having a girl and then find out it's a boy. But Jason was like, we're definitely having a girl. Like he's been right with all 3 of our pregnancies.
But that was the first girl in
55 years. So when we got it confirmed again, I told Jason's grandma, who we call Nana, I was like, Nana, you sitting down? She's like, yes. I'm like, I'm about to tell you something that might have you. She's like, what are you telling me? It's like, we're having a girl. And she was over the moon excited because at that time, she doesn't sew so much anymore, but she can sew like you wouldn't believe. And so she went to town on making things for Evangeline. And then obviously I was really praying that Dorothy would be a girl.
Another girl for Jason's side of the family.
And
very cool.
Jason knew right away that she was a girl. In fact, the ultrasound tech at my 11th week, maybe it was 12 weeks, she was doing my ultrasound and she's like, what are you hoping for? Because she knew that I had a boy and a girl. It's like, I just want a healthy baby. I have both a boy and a girl, but I mean, I want a healthy baby, but like I really would like to name one of our kids after my grandma. So obviously I want a girl. She's like, I'm pretty sure you're probably having a girl. I'm not the doctor though, and you're not 20 weeks along, so I'm not gonna. But I think you might be having a girl. So really, and I didn't. Now you can do like that 10-week blood test to find out, and my insurance didn't cover that, and I didn't want to do that.
Ashlyn that, and she was debating it, but then she was like, "No, I just do the ultrasound."
Yeah, so I waited for the ultrasound to have it reconfirmed that she was a girl, but I got to tell you, like my whole pregnancy before I found out, I kept having prayers. I mean, I was praying that she'd be a girl, but I kept having dreams that she was a girl and that she was redheaded.
She has some red hair.
Yes. So
it's coming in.
It is finally coming in. So
funny. Okay.
Okay. So if you can think this far back, what were your cravings during your pregnancy?
Easy. So with Austin, Chad was working nights. And so a lot of times I was at home in the evening. So he would work until like 2:00 in the morning, or like he'd get off a little bit past midnight. It depended because he worked with computers for close to 10 years before he switched careers. I remembered, and again, I'm dating myself, Kathy. This is the time where he had a beeper.
Is that like little square thing?
Okay, it was a beeper. So he wore a beeper, and I think I can't remember. There was a way that you could text, do a text on a beeper. I was like, hey, I'm hungry. It was like 11:00 at night. He goes, "You're hungry?" I'm like, "Yeah." And you're probably gonna think I'm weird, but can you go to the store and buy me some chips and salsa and chocolate milk? And he goes, "What?" I'm like, "I want chips and salsa and chocolate milk." He goes, "Okay." So he bought me chips and salsa and chocolate milk. It was my weirdest craving I think I've had with all 3 of my kids. But with both of my boys, I craved anything like Mexican food, Chinese food. Like I would just eat. That's all I would eat. With Ashlyn, I wanted nothing to do with Mexican food. When I would smell when I would go to a Mexican restaurant, I would get sick.
That's funny.
All I ate with her was watermelon and cantaloupe. Okay. Chad would have to buy me a huge thing of watermelon, and I would just cut them up, and I'd put it in the refrigerator, and that's all I ate. And I'm like, I'd call him, "Can you pick me up a cantaloupe or a watermelon from the store?"
Funny.
That's all I ate with her was that. And I didn't, but the boys, I gained a lot of weight because I ate all of that sodium and all the salt and stuff.
Yeah.
With her, I think I gained less than 20 pounds. With the boys, I almost gained like 40.
Yeah.
Because I ate too much. What about you? Cravings?
Look.
I know we're bad. I know. Maybe it's because it's a Tuesday and not a Monday when we normally record.
Maybe. Or maybe it's because we're doing more like a ask.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's hard to keep up with that sometimes.
So for me, Joshua, I've kind of mentioned already.
Your mother's asparagus.
My mother's asparagus. Chocolate donuts. very weird cravings. Right?
Yeah.
I also always wanted Jason to pick up Wendy's chocolate malts and their fries. Also not very healthy. Well, and the other thing, and you can ask Melody about this when you meet her. She got so tired of it. Bless her heart. Buffalo Wild Wings.
Buffalo Wild Wings.
Yes, ma'am.
Wow. With Joshua.
We went to Buffalo Wild Wings so many times when I was pregnant with him, and Mel would tag along. And then if we couldn't go, I would pull some frozen wings out of our freezer and put sauce on them. She's like, can we be done? I love you. And you're my best friend, but I cannot keep eating these wings.
Oh my
So
gosh.
she and Jason were Jason didn't mind it as much, but Melody, he was like, I'm done. I love you, but I'm done. So that was with Joshua. With Evangeline, I didn't really have strong cravings with her. And I didn't really have anything that made me nauseous or sick.
Yeah.
I will say there's probably one thing that I really, really craved with her, and that was sour things. So I did love.
Interesting.
Really loved. I mean, this is also not healthy, but Sour Patch Kids, the candy, I constantly wanted that with her. So sour was my thing with her.
Okay.
Dorothy was my healthiest. I wanted salmon constantly. Literally, I'm pretty sure her entire pregnancy, every Sunday afternoon, Jason would smoke salmon for us, and we would have smoked salmon and sauteed green beans.
She's gonna like seafood when she gets older.
She does, actually. Dorothy?
Does she?
Yes,
really?
ma'am.
Oh,
she eats shrimp like it's going out of style.
Okay, that's funny.
Yeah. So I'm like, well, at least I ate healthy with this pregnancy.
Oh,
but
yeah.
Anyway.
I did with Ashlyn, but that was pretty much it.
Okay, where were you living during your pregnancies?
Okay, so I make this joke because there was a lot of people that thought we were in the military. Because we moved, but it was not one of those, let's just move here or there. It was where God basically just opened an opportunity for us to go move there. So with Austin, we were living in Phoenix. That's where Chad's parents were living and his brothers. So we lived there for about 3 years. And let me tell you, if you've ever been to Phoenix, the desert, I was pregnant with them smack dab in the middle of the summer.
Oof.
And when I say, and the summers out there were brutal. Like we were talking 110 degrees.
Oh, no, thank you.
I mean, and it was just, I remember my feet were so swollen because it was so hot outside. And then there was a time period in July of that year when I was pregnant with them that it was like the hottest on record for Phoenix. And we didn't go out. Like we stayed indoors because I was so miserable. So we lived in Phoenix. Austin was born in Phoenix. And then we moved to Fort Worth. Chad got a job. We wanted to move back to Texas, and he ended up getting a job in Dallas. We lived in Fort Worth. He commuted every day.
Okay.
And Ashlyn was born. She's our Texan. She was born in Fort Worth, Texas.
Okay.
And then when I got pregnant with Andrew in that May, we got called into the ministry. We became house parents at a children's home in Laurel, Mississippi. That's southern Mississippi.
Okay.
And we moved cross country, and Andrew was born in Hattiesburg, Mississippi. That's about 45 minutes north of Laurel. Okay. So all 3 of our children are born in 3 different states. And no, we are not in the military.
That is quite an adventure, my friend.
Yeah. I mean, like, literally when we've had to get there, because every single child, I don't know why, we have lost their birth certificates along the way. And we've had to like go on the state record for Arizona, for Texas, for Mississippi to get birth certificates because we've lost them.
Yeah.
But anyways, what about you?
So Joshua was my only kid not born in Texas. He was born in Carbondale, Illinois, which is where we went to college.
Oh, okay.
And then we moved here when he was about 3 months old.
Okay.
Evangeline was born in Houston, and Dorothy was born in Sugar Land. And Evangeline, and I'm sure at some point when Dorothy is old enough to do this, she and Jason like to be like, who's the true Texan? Who's the real Texan? I'm like, whatever, go away.
It's Texas. You know how many suburbs are in Houston?
People love Texas.
Yes. Okay.
So they like to brag that they're the only true Texans in our family, and Josh and I are the outsiders. I'm like, whatever.
Oh, whatever. All three of my kids are in different states, so that's okay.
What about naming your babies?
Naming them. So with all three of my kids, with Austin, we were going to choose a family name. We were going to choose Truett Dallas because that was Chad's Chad's grandpa's name and then his uncle's name. But then we decided not to do Truett Dallas. And then we started getting on this kick of names in Texas. And then we're getting goofy like, okay, Austin, Houston, Dallas. And then people were just giving us suggestions like, hey, what about Cut and Shoot Bishop? Like there is a Cut and Shoot Texas. And I don't know if you knew that. That was my father-in-law's joke with us. And so we finally settled. I'm like, hey, what about the name Austin? And that was actually a pretty popular name at that time. And so hence my son got the name Austin because we wanted something from Texas. Yeah. And that was, we thought that was a really cool, unique name. So all three of my kids have their middle names are family names. So Austin, Lee for Chad's grandfather and my brother's middle name. And then with Ashlyn, I had a friend that was pregnant and she was going to have a girl. She's going to choose Ashlyn as the name. Okay. Well, she ended up having a boy and I really liked the name. Chad wanted to go with Ashley. I was like, I don't like Ashley. It's so common. You know how many girls are going to be named Ashley in her class? Yeah. He's like, really? Okay, fine. So he goes, what about Ashley May? May is my middle name. Okay. And I said, well, what about Ashlyn? Lynn it's different. It's unique, but I really like the name. And at first he was like, it just sounds snobby. So we kept going back and forth on names. And finally he's like, I kind of like that. So her name, Ashlyn, and then we chose two middle names for her. So Elizabeth from his mom's middle name, and then Helen was my mom's first name. So Ashlyn, Elizabeth, Helen, Bishop. Okay. And so she's like, God, Mom, I have a really long name now. So her married name is Ashlyn Elizabeth Bishop Jose. Yeah. She's like, I have the longest name. Really, Mom? But anyways, and I'm like, well, I wanted to name you, but after both of your grandmothers. So with Andrew, by that time we have two A names. And everybody was like, we were going to actually go with Chad Jr. with Andrew. Mm-hmm. And some people are like, I really don't like that name. And Chad's like, really? And then they started making fun of us. They're like, well, you have two A names. You have to name the third one an A name. So we start kicking around A names. We were joking, hey, what about Anakin? From Star Wars. And at first we're like, that's kind of a cool, unique name. And then I started thinking, no, people are going to start making fun of them. What are you, a Star Wars kid? So, and then I kicked around the name Andrew. And then Chad was kind of adamant not to name him Andrew because he knew somebody named Andrew growing up. And he was like, he was a jerk. And I don't want. So we went back and forth. And finally he settled on Andrew because he goes, okay, we can go with Andrew. And Andrew's middle name is Chad. Okay. Andrew Chad. Okay. So we have A name children. All three of them, 6 letters in their names. I tried not to make it complicated. I'm a teacher, by the way. So if I could tell you all of the unique names and spellings that I have had of students, I was thinking of the teachers. Like, just give them a simple name where the teacher's not going to butcher it the whole year. Mm-hmm. But anyways, that's how we came up with our names.
That's fun.
I like your story about how you came up with names.
So we wanted our kids to have names that had gospel meanings. Mm-hmm. And Joshua's name came about because, as I said earlier, we were not expecting or trying to have him. Yeah. I was nervous. Mm-hmm. I mean, we were very, very poor. And when I say poor, I think I shared this last week with you. Together, our combined income was $12,000 a year.
Wow.
Together.
Wow.
And I'm like, I don't know how we're going to do this. Especially because I really wanted to be a stay-at-home mom.
Yeah.
And so for the first, I would say 6 months of my pregnancy with Joshua, I was struggling. Like, Lord, I don't know.
Yeah.
At that time, my dad was preaching through the book Joshua. And I remember it was a Sunday. It was right at the very beginning, right after Moses, right before Moses is about to die.
Yeah.
Moses says to Joshua, I'm basically passing the book to you.
Yeah.
And Joshua's a little bit scared and worried. And the Lord tells Joshua, hey, be strong and courageous. I, the Lord, your God, am with you and will go with you wherever you go.
Wow.
And I remember that particular Sunday, like my hair stuck up in my arms. I had goosebumps. I'm now weeping. Jason's like teary. Like he doesn't ugly cry like I do. My best friend Melody's on one side of me looking at me like, everyone's like, shh, what is going on? I'm like, I'm pregnant.
Yeah.
Like 6 months
the
pregnant.
Hormones.
It was just
funny.
like, I knew then and there that if I think we knew at that time that he was a boy, that this name was Joshua.
Oh.
And we wanted his name. We wanted a J name too, because all the boys in Jason's side of the family had J names.
Oh, okay.
I also wanted him to have the same initials as his father. So Jason is Jason Mark Ellison. Joshua's middle name is Martin.
Okay.
So JMA. And Martin comes from one of my favorite reformers, which is Martin Luther.
Okay.
He's the one who stuck the 95 Theses on the Catholic door saying, I am not doing this. Here's he laid out the truth and started the Protestant Reformation. And so he got that middle name from Martin Luther. And oddly enough, God used the story of Martin Luther to get Joshua to think about the things of Christ. Oh. And Joshua came to know the Lord through Martin Luther, actually, and through reading the Gospel of Mark. So I think it's really cool that plays a part of his salvation story.
Yeah.
So that's Joshua. Evangeline, we both knew, we both loved the name Evangeline. One of our favorite actresses at the time played in our favorite TV show, Lost.
Oh, okay. I
remember
you telling me
her name is Evangeline Lilly, and we loved the name.
Yeah.
And we also knew a girl that went to college with Jason named Evangeline. Loved the meaning of the name, which is bringer of good news. So we were like, her name's Evangeline, and we wanted something unique.
Yeah.
Now, of course, we moved to Texas, and I know like 5 Evangelines. Because Evangeline is a popular name in Louisiana, and Louisiana is right next to Texas.
Oh,
so
I did not know that.
There's
learn.
There's a bank in Louisiana called Evangeline. There's a bread company called Evangeline. So it's a very popular name in Louisiana.
Interesting. Okay.
So it's just funny to me that I'm like, well, there we have it. We know 5. I'm pretty sure it's 5 Evangelines. They all say it differently too. So it's just like, my head hurts. Like there's one Evangeline. There's Evangeline Garbarino.
Oh.
Her name is Evangeline. Okay. There's ours, Evangeline.
Okay.
And then there's a friend of ours, Evangeline.
Oh my word.
So I'm like,
that would be a teacher's nightmare.
So yes. Anyway, so her middle name is Catherine because I wanted her to have part of my name.
Okay.
She also does not like the fact that she has a very long name. In fact, look, you probably can't see it on the video, but I'll show Ellen. Look at my pretty Mother's Day bracelets.
Oh, I like that. I was looking at it. Oh, yeah.
Evangeline's it's like practically the entire bracelet.
It is long. See, mine would all have 6 names. 6 on there. I like that. So, anyway, cute.
Dorothy, obviously, I wanted to name her after my grandma. Because my grandma had a huge role in my life. And then her middle name is Jason's grandma's middle name. So Jason's grandma's name is Betty Jane.
Oh.
So we took her middle name because Jason adores his grandma.
Yeah.
So she's named after her 2 great grandmas.
Oh.
And her name means the Lord loves to give good gifts. I think that's the correct. So anyway.
Yeah, I love that.
So, okay.
Very cool.
Well, tell us about your birth. Did you have a natural birth or medicated?
So with the boys, with Austin, I had a medicated birth. I wanted an epidural. I am a baby when it comes to pain. Like I hate pain.
Mm-hmm.
Like I want an epidural. So I got an epidural. And then when I actually went into labor with him, I couldn't feel anything. And so because the doctor had given me another pain medication. And so she's like, do you feel the urge to push? No, don't. And because I had so much medication, there was a point when I was trying to push that Austin got a little bit in distress. And so when he finally was able to push him out, he came out, he was blue. And the doctors told Chad, I'm not going to let you cut the umbilical cord. I need to get him stimulated right now. And so that was a little bit of a scary moment. Like he didn't come out crying. He was blue. And so she was finally able to, stimulate him. I remember laying there going, is my baby okay? And he finally gave like this really, really weak cry. And so, but he was fine. With Ashlyn, her birthing story was an interesting story. So I was having consistent contractions. Chad was working. I called him. He was already on his way home. We went to the hospital that evening, and my contractions were showing up on the monitor, and they put me on the monitor, and I was having some pretty intense contractions. Like I could feel them in my back, and there was a couple of times where I was like, this really hurts. I'm about to have a contraction. I could feel it, and I was trying to breathe through it. And then for some reason throughout the evening, it kind of slowed down. And so they kept checking me. They're like, oh, you're only 1 centimeter dilated. They ended up sending me home at 10:30 at night. I was so frustrated. And then I thought my water broke when I got home. So we went back to the hospital. They checked me. They're like, no, honey, your water didn't break, but we'll go ahead and monitor you for an hour. And if there's nothing happening, we're going to send you home. Well, what they didn't know was that I was having back labor and my uterus had turned inside out. And so it wasn't showing up on the contraction monitor. So the nurse comes back an hour later and she goes, oh, you're 4 centimeters dilated. Okay, let's get you admitted. So she goes, okay, hold on. I'm going to get paperwork. You start filling it out. And she's like, did you want medicine for your pain? I'm like, yes, I want an epidural now. And she goes, okay, no problem. I'll go get the anesthesiologist. I'll be right back. About 10 minutes later, she comes back. She rechecks me. She goes, don't push. Huh? What do you mean don't push? She goes, I'll be right back. And then I didn't know what was happening. I'm already screaming in pain. I'm like, I want an epidural. How can we get an epidural? And Chad's going, it's okay, honey. It's okay, honey. He goes, but he told me later on, he saw the look on the nurses' faces. And he said about 5 or 6 nurses came in and he said they started pulling out the table. They took the stirrups out and they started yelling at me. They were like, don't push. And one of the nurses was like, go wake up the doctor now. Go find the doctor now. And they're like, don't push, don't push. She's pushing out. I can't stop. And I got delivered by a nurse.
Oh, wow.
She came out in 20 minutes.
Wow.
I went from 4 to 10 centimeters in 20 minutes.
Wow. And
I had no drugs. She was my smallest baby, though, which was probably a good thing because
you were in a lot of pain.
I was in a lot of pain. With Andrew, they scheduled me to have to induce me because I had problems with my pregnancy with him. And the doctor went ahead and scheduled my delivery. But when I actually went into labor, when I went into labor and delivery, I was already having contractions, so they never had to induce me.
That's awesome.
And I had an epidural with him. I had an epidural with the boys. I didn't with Ashlyn. I told you she's my stubborn child, and she came into the world, and she let everybody know she was not. And she screamed when she came out. Andrew was like more of a softer cry, but Ashlyn, she screamed when she came out. So anyways, That's my birthing stories. What about you? Oh.
I'm laughing because we've just Jason's going to have to figure all that.
I know. We probably drove him nuts.
I'll be quick with mine. Joshua was an emergency C-section. My birthing story did not turn out the way that I had hoped.
Yeah.
But God saved him and saved me. Evangeline, I was hoping for a VBAC with her. Was not able to do a VBAC, and so I ended up having to have a C-section with her, which was really discouraging and hard for me at times.
Yeah.
At that time, Evangeline, Dorothy was a scheduled C-section, obviously, and it was like nothing, no major complications.
Yeah.
On the get-go.
Yeah.
But they did give me too much IV fluid, which then ended up being that my body wasn't getting rid of the fluid like it should. So it kind of made it look like that I had heart problems and lung problems. And it was a whole ordeal that I was just like, I'm so done with this. But so obviously my birthing stories were all medicated. Now lucky. With Joshua, I was in labor with him for 55 hours.
Whoa.
With no pain meds the whole time.
Wow.
I was determined I was going to do it all naturally. But by 55 hours, somewhere around that time frame, and my mom and my mother-in-law were part of our team. They were in and out and helping with, because Jason and I were fighting staying awake because we're so tired and I'm in pain and it was a whole thing. And eventually around the 55 mark, our doctor's a strong believer, and he pretty much said, hey, here's what's going on. Every time you have a contraction, your baby's heart rate goes down into the 30s.
Wow.
Something's not okay. And if you keep trying to have this baby naturally, either you're going to lose him, lose you both. But you've got to make a decision. I can't. So he pretty much put his foot down, and my mom was, she was a labor and delivery nurse for years. And so she came and told me, she's like, hey, this is what's going on. Cause she knew I was so tired and all the medicine jargon was over my head. And she's like, here's what's happening. They need to get the baby. And Jason was like, do whatever you can to save my wife and my kid.
Yeah.
So his delivery was hard.
Yeah.
And I'm sure maybe at some point we'll have an episode talking about when your birthing story doesn't go the way that that you wanted it to, because I think it would be a great episode.
Yeah.
For the sake of time, let's do that last question.
Okay.
To wrap up. So how did God teach you and how did he work in your life during your pregnancies?
So with Austin, I was very scared because I was a young mother. I didn't know what to expect.
Yeah.
I remember when I was going into labor with him, when I'm scared, I shake and my teeth chatter, and I was petrified of going into labor with him. And I through that all, and then even when I was in labor with him, when the doctor said, and he came out and the doctor said, he's blue, I need to stimulate him. That was scary. And it was like, God, please take care of my baby. And he did. Austin was fine. With the other two, I had problem pregnancies with both of them. With Ashlyn, come to find out, probably on my 30th week of pregnancy, I had a small blood clot. And I had to go to a specialist because I kept spotting on. And the doctor's like, there's something wrong here. I need to send you to a specialist. So I was on bed rest for 6 weeks with her. And I had to go to the doctor every 2 weeks to get checked out. But our church family came through for us. Like,
that's amazing.
We had a train of people coming in because I had a toddler. And I had to stay in bed and Chad had to work. So they came in. I had people cook me meals. I had people watch Austin, play with him. So during that time period, I mean, people took care of my child. And then with Ashlyn, not with Ashlyn, with Andrew, same thing. I got told I had a 2-cord vessel umbilical cord, and I was a high risk pregnancy. But again, and I didn't have anybody there with me. It was just Chad and I and our kids. I mean, we didn't have any family. We were house parents, but our church family at the time also, they just surrounded us. They prayed for us. The director and his wife, when I had an amniocentesis with Andrew, when everything came back that he was good, because they thought he was Down syndrome because some of the way the things were presenting himself in the ultrasound. And I remember calling again on God. And I remember my parents had people praying for us here. And when he was okay, everybody, it was just a moment of just relief and peace because I knew people were praying for us. So, with the problem pregnancies, God taught me that there are other people around. I don't have to do it all by myself. Even though I was not near family, I had my church family to take care of me. And so that taught me that, rely on God, rely on the people that you're close to. And at the time it was our church family. And they just took care of everything for me.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. What about you?
For me, obviously my pregnancies were complicated. Joshua was hard. I went through some serious depression with him. But I will say of all of the pregnancies, my biggest thing that I've learned and walked away from is trusting in the Lord. And crying out to him and knowing that he's a safe place for me to cry to and weep to and admit that like sometimes I don't know what's going on. And that it's hard sometimes for me and to help me in my unbelief. So for me, I would say the biggest thing is trust because with each of my pregnancies, there was a time, with Joshua, it was, hey, we need to do this or you're going to die. And Joshua's going to die. Evangeline, I had major complications after the C-section. We didn't know it at the time, but I was allergic to some of the medicine that they gave me for pain meds.
Oh, wow.
Messed me up. Jason found me on the floor in the bathroom one evening, curled up, screaming in pain. Like I thought I was dying. And then with Dorothy, just my body not releasing the fluid like it should have, and finding out that I might have an enlarged heart and heart problems, and that was scary. I don't. It was just they gave me too much fluid for my body size.
We're little.
So it was really just like, okay, like this is hard and we're going to trust you. You are sovereign and you're in control of my life. But I would say trust. And I would definitely say that my prayer life was definitely with each pregnancy was increased quite significantly. And so, I would definitely say that's how God worked in my pregnancies. So,
memory lane when we go think about our pregnancies. Of course, it's been a minute for me.
And I could talk for a long time about my deliveries and about how they didn't go as I had how I had planned and what God had to teach me and what I had to do to get to a place of full trust in him. But that's probably going to be a separate episode because it could be a long one. maybe sometime down the road if we do a series on trials and tribulations or something like that.
I think we have something like that planned.
So, but this was fun. It was fun hearing your stories.
It was nice going down memory lane with each of my kids. I like that. Yeah.
Well, ladies, we are so glad that you took the time to listen to our pregnancy stories.
Show your bracelet. Her
I mean, I wish I could show it. You might not be able to see it.
Evangeline's name is
hello, this is awkward.
Yeah.
So it's 3. I got it off Etsy. Maybe I'll share a link on Facebook, but it says their names.
That's so cute.
And they're different colors. They're fun.
Oh, now I get the Facebook post about.
Yes.
I was like, what'd she buy?
This is what I bought. What Ellen's talking about, ladies, is I posted this thing on my husband's Facebook wall where it says,
something about what you buy could be part of your Mother's Day present.
Something about what you buy. So I clicked the image and put it on his wall, and I said, already done, check mark, and a laughing face. So I bought this for myself for Mother's Day. Oh, I think it was like, now's the time to buy whatever you want and say it was for Mother's Day.
Yeah. It's for Mother's Day.
There's another thing I want to buy too for Mother's Day.
There's a lot of things I want to buy for Mother's Day.
Okay, it's that journal I shared with you.
I liked it, and then I saw the price. I was like, "Ooh," because I'm wanting a nice journal.
I know.
I'm starting to pen some poems.
That's cool.
Just like to get some of my feelings of just like
it's more
what we've
like
been
therapeutic.
Through. Therapeutic.
For sure.
Yeah, that's what my counselor had suggested. So that's what I'm doing right now.
Yeah.
And I didn't think I would be able to do it. And I wrote my first one. And I'm like, oh, that was kind of easy.
Yeah.
Because in my head, I'm a teacher. Rhyming. I'm like, no, it's a free verse poem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
anyways.
So I'm like, now I want this. Can I just get that too and say it's my Mother's Day?
I know. It's an early birthday present for me.
Anyway, because your birthday's coming up.
June.
So anyway, well, thank you guys for listening. Please let us know if you have any questions. We would love to hear your stories or a testimony of what God taught you during your pregnancies, if you have been, or if you might be trying, or if you are pregnant with your first and you have questions, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Please just ask and we'd love to answer. So we're so glad you're here, and we will see you next time, ladies.
Bye, guys.
Bye.